2 hours ago, a war that was 48 hours from its most catastrophic escalation, yet quietly stepped back from the edge. The mechanism of that step, and who exactly took it, is the most contested diplomatic question in the world right now. Trump posted on Truth Social Monday morning, hours before his power plant ultimatum was due to expire. I am pleased to report that the United States of America and the country of Iran have had, over the last 2 days, very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. He announced a 5-day pause on all strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure, subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions. Markets moved instantly. Oil tumbled, European stocks surged, US futures rallied, gold pared its gains, and the entire global financial system, which had been pricing in an imminent power plant exchange and the energy catastrophe that would follow, exhaled. Iran's foreign ministry issued a statement within hours. There is no dialogue between Tehran and Washington. The ministry accused Trump of making the announcement to reduce energy prices and buy time to implement military plans. Iranian state television displayed a graphic reading. U.S. President backs down following Iran's firm warning. Both statements cannot be simultaneously accurate. Either there were productive conversations, in which case Iran is lying, or there were no conversations, in which case Trump announced a diplomatic breakthrough that does not exist. The 5-day window is real. The diplomatic foundation underneath it is the subject of the sharpest factual dispute of the entire 25-day war. What actually happened behind the scenes? The Axios account. The Axios report published Monday afternoon filled in the architecture that neither side was publicly acknowledging, and it is the most detailed account yet of what actually happened in the hours before Trump's announcement. U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner had been in communication with Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, the Speaker of the Iranian parliament, through intermediary countries. Trump told reporters he declined to name his Iranian interlocutor because he did not want to get him killed. The intermediary countries, according to a U.S. source cited by Axios, were Turkey, Egypt, and Pakistan. The foreign ministers of all three held separate conversations with both Witkoff and Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi over the past 2 days. The proposed meeting venue, according to an Israeli official cited by Axios, was Islamabad, with Ghalibaf and other Iranian officials representing Tehran, and Witkoff, Kushner, and possibly Vice President Vance representing Washington. The same Israeli official confirmed that Israel had been aware of indirect communication between the U.S. and Iran, but was caught off guard by the speed of Monday's announcement. We did not know things were moving that fast. That detail, Israel surprised by the pace, matters. Netanyahu was not consulted before Trump announced the pause. Israeli strikes on Tehran continued Monday morning, hours after Trump's Truth Social post. The Israeli military said it was conducting strikes on Iranian regime targets in the heart of Tehran, at the same moment Trump was describing productive conversations with Iranian leadership. A simultaneous U.S. diplomatic pause and Israeli military escalation in the same city, within the same hours, describes a coalition that is no longer operating from a shared strategic position. The 5-day window exists. What the two allies intend to do with it is apparently not something they have agreed on. Reading Iran's denial carefully, it is not what it appears. The Iranian denial requires careful reading, because it is not a blanket rejection of all contact. The Foreign Ministry said there was no dialogue between Tehran and Washington. It said messages have been sent through mediators, and that Iran's clear response to those messages has been that it will continue its defense until the required level of deterrence is achieved. Iranian state media, citing an unnamed security official, said, "From the beginning of the war until today, messages have been sent to Tehran from some mediators, the clear answer of which has been that we will continue to defend until we achieve the necessary deterrence." That statement is not a denial that messages were exchanged. It is a characterization of what Iran said in response to those messages. The distinction matters. Iran is not saying there has been no communication through intermediaries. It is saying those communications were not negotiations, because Iran's position has not changed and Iran has not agreed to anything. Trump described the same exchange as very good and productive conversations, representing major points of agreement. The gap between "we told intermediaries we will keep fighting" and major points of agreement is the diplomatic void at the center of the 5-day pause. Oman's Foreign Minister Badr al-Busaidi, whose country has served as the primary back channel between Washington and Tehran for decades, posted Monday that Oman is working intensively towards safe passage arrangements for the Strait of Hormuz. He did not claim a breakthrough. He described ongoing effort. His statement also contained a line that no American official has said publicly: "Whatever your view of Iran, and this war is not of their making." That is the Omani mediator characterizing the conflict's origins in terms that directly contradict the White House's legal justification for starting it. China's Middle East envoy, Zhai Jun, speaking in Beijing after a trip through Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Egypt, said, "We all know who started this war." He described the biggest obstacle to a ceasefire with a Chinese proverb: "To untie a belt, the person who tied it is needed." What 5 days actually means, and what Trump said that nobody noticed. The 5-day pause is structurally the most honest thing Trump has done in 25 days of a war he has repeatedly described as essentially won. By Friday, he said the U.S. was getting very close to meeting our objectives and considering winding down military efforts. And by Saturday night, he had issued a 48-hour ultimatum to bomb power plants. By Monday morning, he announced productive conversations and a 5-day pause. The arc from winding down to obliterate to productive conversations covered less than 72 hours. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed throughout all of it. What the 5-day pause actually accomplishes, if it holds, is to create the diplomatic space that has been consistently absent from this conflict. No back channel had been publicly acknowledged before today. No intermediary framework had been named. Oman, Turkey, Egypt, and Pakistan, 4 countries now confirmed as passing messages, represent a significant multilateral infrastructure for a war that the Trump administration has described as a bilateral U.S.-Israel operation against Iran. The markets understood something the political framing obscured. The 5-day window is a de-escalation of the immediate crisis, regardless of whether the diplomatic claims behind it are accurate. A war that was heading toward civilian power plant exchanges and full Gulf mine laying, with the IEA warning the situation is worse than the combined energy crises of 1973 and 1979, is now for 5 days not heading there. That is real, even if the complete and total resolution framing is aspirational at best. And Trump told Fox Business's Maria Bartiromo, "Either Iran will agree to a deal or we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out." He told CNBC he is very intent on making a deal. He told reporters he did not want to name his Iranian interlocutor because he did not want to get him killed, an acknowledgement that the person exists and that naming him publicly could cost him his life in a country where negotiating with the United States is potentially fatal. That last detail is the most revealing thing Trump said today. It means someone on the Iranian side took a risk to engage, whether that engagement constitutes negotiations, productive conversations, or simply a mediator relaying messages that have not changed. The 5-day answer to that question will determine whether the war in its current form continues. It escalates into a new category of targets or finds its first genuine off-ramp. 2 hours ago, both sides claimed to be winning. One claimed to be talking, the other denied it. The bombs paused, the strait stayed closed, and 5 days began.